Good morning and welcome to ScreenJunkies Universe. Happy Wednesday. I'm Roth Cornet. This is Dan Murrell.
Hello, hello.
Joe Starr is here.
Hey.
And we are so excited, as always, to have Mr. Ed Greer with us.
Hey.
Welcome.
How's it
Always
going,
such
guys?
a wonderful addition. We got a lot to talk about today. M Night Shyamalan is entering the streaming wars.
Did you mean to say entering?
I did.
That's good.
Did you like it?
I liked it.
And I'm glad you caught it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have so few of these wins, so I'll take them. Will we see a Glover clone? I'm going to let you ponder on that for a minute. And our Oscar predictions continue, but let's start with M. Night. So as we've talked about a little bit previously, we talk a lot about the streaming wars and Netflix versus Amazon and Hulu kind of, but it's more domestic, so whatever. And Apple's really entering the game. They have a huge upcoming slate of original content, including they have signed a deal for a straight-to-series order, a psychological thriller to be produced by... He will be the executive producer. No, the plot details are sparse. No surprise there. 10-episode order. He's going to direct the first episode, and it is going to be produced by his Blinding Edge Pictures. So, but there's a bunch of high-profile series in development at Apple, including one that is a morning show drama with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. Damien Chazelle, who obviously directed La La Land, has a drama that was announced in January. They're also prepping a reboot of Amazing Stories, which when we talked about this morning, they got one, because my response to that was, oh, really? Amazing Stories. How delightful. With none other than executive producer Steven Spielberg, who I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I actually am on this one, produced that original series. They also have an untitled space race drama. From Ron Moore, for my fellow Battlestar fans. They have a drama called C from Stephen, I believe this should be Stephen DeKnight, and Francis Lawrence. And an anthology series called Little America from Kumail Nanjiani, Emily V. Gordon, and Lee Eisenberg. So basically, if you made a network for me, it's what Apple is doing. Like every single one of these things excites and titillates me, and here's why I'm pissed.
Okay.
I don't know how to get no Apple on my TV. I really don't, because I plug in the Blu-ray, and the apps that are there are the ones that I use, and that's it. And I don't have an Apple TV, and I'm not getting an Apple TV.
Well, is it going to require? That's the thing.
That's my question.
Are you going to have to buy Apple TV? Because I don't think Apple's just going to start selling an app that's going to go on a smart TV to sit alongside. Because I have a smart TV.
Yeah.
I don't have an Apple TV, or I did, but it's not hooked up. But I'm wondering the same thing, because
I'm going to be mad.
The last thing you want is another impediment to seeing programming, because there's already so much to watch. Like, is Apple going to offer a better way to see
If they're
shows?
smart, they'll have an app. But what they do, and the purpose of this content, is probably to drive you to buy their stuff, right?
Well, I mean, but that's kind of a weird tactic to take. Like my friend Chuck Martin, he wrote a series called, I think, Shrink. He wrote on a series called Shrink that was on CISO. And he said, well, you know, we all know the CISO with the way of the dodo. And he's like, I'm the only dude who got his network canceled. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're making content to sell TVs, Jennifer Aniston in 2 years is going, they couldn't sell those damn TVs, and she's smoking a cigarette after they canceled her show. You know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of the world I'm envisioning. From if they're thinking to drive hardware with content, that's kind of weird.
I think based on that model, this slate doesn't do it for me. Like, nothing on this slate drives me to be like, I am going to drop a lot of money on an Apple TV. And I know it's not a lot of money, commenters, but I ain't rich. I wear the same zip-up hoodie every day.
There's just so much.
I wear the same outfit every
much.
Yeah.
I know that people say that that's a dumb complaint, that there's so much to watch, but there is such a thing as flooding the market with too much.
You've really got to come out with something special.
I have CBS All Access. I've got
Do you
episodes.
still have it? Did you cancel after
No,
Shrek?
I have, because I have 8 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. I haven't watched, because I still watch stuff on network television, because I still watch stuff on Netflix. There's stuff on Hulu. There's stuff on Amazon Prime. They're offering movies there. They're offering TVs
I mean,
there.
more people.
There's so
More
much.
people need to do what Sega did. Sega decided, man, I can't make these Master Systems, man. I can't make these Master Systems no more. They made Master System, and they were ahead of Nintendo. Nintendo comes and goes, I saw what you did there. Slam. And then they go, all right, well, I got a 16-bit system. And then Nintendo goes, I saw what you did there. Slam. And they kept being first and getting smacked in the face for it. And now they just decided that they're going to be like a publishing company or a video game, software maker, basically. And they survived because they decided, I can't be in this business. So there's going to be some people who decide to try to make studios or try to make content services to go to Netflix or go to the top two that'll survive, Amazon and Netflix, I say, or Hulu and Netflix. They got to start doing that because everybody can't have their own damn app. I'm not buying everybody's damn app.
Well, you can just download the app and then you have to obviously pay for the content or you have to
But
subscribe.
you're going to pay something.
Yeah.
But okay.
I do have the CBS app, and I do say the Star Trek Discovery is great.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Are you guys going to cancel the CBS app once you're all caught up with Star Trek?
Maybe. I don't know.
My girlfriend likes Survivor.
Yeah, that's the thing.
She's
We're watching
like,
Survivor.
yeah, my girlfriend's like a real human being. So like, she loves doing Survivor, and I do too. I can't lie. I'm not above it. But yeah, so we watch Survivor, and it's like CBS has just enough stuff that we might keep it.
If you like Cheers, then
There's
CBS
plenty of
is the place for you.
I do like Cheers. They have Cheers? Because
Yeah,
they
I'm pretty sure they
produced
have
it.
Cheers.
That's so
It was on
fascinating. It was
NBC,
on
but
NBC,
it's
but
a
they
CBS,
produced
yeah,
it.
it's a whole thing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, to literally me. I can't believe we're not more excited about this slate, you guys. Come on.
I mean, amazing stories. I'll give you that. I was never a real big Battlestar Galactica guy, but I did read the treatment for it, the Bible for it online, and that guy is a genius. Full stop.
Yeah, it's a great show
Yeah.
that didn't end.
Yeah.
I was feeling such a connection with you until this very moment.
I'm sorry.
Ed, you're fired.
BSG, come on.
I mean,
2.5 is one of the greatest seasons of television ever made. It was revolutionary. They had an occupation that they told from the perspective of the occupied at that time period. This is a show that went to the UN. Carry on.
No. I mean, yeah, I like this.
The Shyamalan gamble is interesting because I feel like he's like 2 more good movies away from me trusting him again. So this is a little cart before the horse, and especially because it's a series and not maybe like a film deal. If it had been a film deal, a little bit of that Southern just came out. If this had been a film deal, I would have been on board full stop. I would have been hanging on like a hair on a biscuit. But because it is a series, Wayward Pines was not great.
No, it wasn't.
So it doesn't excite me as much as maybe, hey, we're doing 5 more low-budget pictures with M Night.
What about the Kumail show? Are we excited? Are we excited about that?
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing is like this slate is you've got great talent, and it's like the problem is there are 8 other streaming networks that are developing equally. I mean, it seems like every week there's a new exciting project that Amazon or Hulu or Netflix or somebody has formulated.
Was it the Amazon thing with J.K. Simmons where there's like 2 worlds or
there's
whatever?
Counterpart,
Yeah,
and then
Counterpart.
Amazon's
Yeah.
doing Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, and now I guess Spielberg
Yeah.
here. And so
Yeah.
it's not so much this like the slate seems fun, and I hope these are great programs. But I also think, and people kind of say, you know, when I go on this, like, well, you're locked into the old ways. But I also just think that people don't have an infinite amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's jobs, there's movies, there's video games.
You know what? What if they combine?
There's other human beings sometimes, but,
Oh, whoa.
but really
the
rarely.
idea of,
Don't
like,
get nuts.
where's the tipping point where it's just like, we made a really good show. It's like, okay, you made a really good show. But if there are 40 really good shows on, and you fractured the audience so that only 200,000 people are watching each one of those really good shows, then yes, you made a really good show, but you're making no money because
Yeah, that
it's
is the
been
danger.
fractured so much
Right.
that there's so much great content out there that falls through the cracks because everybody else is watching another piece of great content. And that's where I don't know what the long-term plan is. It's like these do sound, all of them, like very exciting projects, but they are in competition now with 25 times more television than has ever existed before in the history of the
Yeah.
world.
So-
And how can all of it succeed?
Speaking to that, the other interesting sort of standout thing about this slate to me is that I've seen it before. Amazon, Netflix, they all started with their cycle of come here for prestige television programming. And that was step 1 for all of these streaming services. And I'm sort of surprised that Apple is following suit instead of finding a way to sort of break the mold a little bit. They're following suit instead of figuring out what their iPod is.
I just feel like you could make a studio. I mean, I guess sometimes studios are locked in with a certain network, and they'll start making. But like, it seems like certain studios can work with a lot of different networks and put a lot of content out for a lot of different platforms.
Well, this is why Warner Brothers will thrive, I think, as more and more streaming services and stuff pop up, because aside from forays into the Frog and the WB network and stuff like that, Warner Brothers sort of model for television has always been, we'll make television, we'll sell it to you.
Exactly.
To CW, to Fox, to whoever.
And they need to combine some of these. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like it seems like if they said M Night Shyamalan and Steven Spielberg were working on amazing stories, I'd be all for it, because I think Shyamalan works in a short form. He hasn't shown to me an ability to work in the long form at all. So it seems like it works as short little stories, short little anthology stories. I'll set up something weird. There's a guy with glass bones. Have a ball. You know what I mean?
For 22 minutes. Yeah.
Right. It seems like that would be his milieu.
Nice use of milieu. Pause for nice use of milieu.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. There's over 400 hours of television on, but there have been for the last couple of years. There is more content than ever before in history, and it is more and more fractured, because we still do have networks, we still do have cable, but at the same time I'm curious, because everyone is moving into the streaming model seemingly with the Disney streaming service and buying Fox for that purpose and buying the library, Netflix creating original content, of not making television shows and licensing them anymore, of actually owning all of it and distributing it, and that is more and more the model. So Apple is just worth so much more than any of these companies. They could swallow Disney whole 10 times over if they wanted to. I'm not saying they're going to, but they could financially. So I do think you're right, Joe, that it's curious that they would launch with these smaller programs.
Yeah, it's like a they did sort of just like a subtle peck bounce and a wink instead of a full-on like full body flex and all the clothes fall off like Hulk. Like that's kind of what I was expecting when Apple like kind of came out with their slate. It was just Rah! And then just furniture starts getting flipped.
Apple comes out with Transformers the series. Every episode costs $100 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so
They
blow my
could.
mind. You know what I mean? That's what I mean, not that per se. But
Or
something.
they package this, they package these shows with a revolutionary new Apple version of whatever this other stuff is, and they do what they did with the iPhone, which is like, you have a phone already? No, you don't. You need this phone. Like basically, Apple's saying like, watch our shows, but they're not yet saying like, and the reason you have to watch our shows is because we have come up with a way to watch shows that is better than every other way that's out there, and you're going to all be using it within 4 or 5 years, and that's what they're not doing. And it's like they have to do that because these are really fun projects. However, again, there's one of them a week now.
Yeah.
An exciting new project from somebody, a big name, is announced.
I can't wait to watch an episode where it's like people are like, oh, I got to use my new iPhone 10 to solve this mystery, and everybody's using Apple products in every single show, and they're all integral to the plot.
They finally pay off to the first Independence Day.
Well, but they could do stuff like that, right? With amazing stories. I mean, they could sort of create a connectivity between something they have on the phone and something that you're watching the show and whatever. Who knows if anybody'd actually be into any of that? You have to be into the show first.
Right.
Yeah. What I want to know, to your point, is I'm such a sucker that if they did have an available app and I had to pay $6 or $7 like I do for Netflix to try it, I probably would at least try it and see if it was worth it. But if I'm not buying an Apple TV. Like, if you're trying to make me buy hardware, that's where it ends, Apple. We're going to break up.
What will it take for you to buy hardware from Apple?
I mean, truly, like
hologram Steve Jobs hosting a Black Mirror show?
I mean, isn't Steve Jobs'
I like where you're going. Keep talking. Yeah. We are going to talk about a hologram in a minute, but the truth is my personality is probably geared to what they're already doing, which isn't great news for them. I like really niche things. But I don't think there's some big eventized thing that would make me get an Apple TV. It would just have to be like really, truly nothing. We had one of the TVs with the butts, like the really old one, until someone gave us flat screen, because I'm not tech savvy at all, and I don't know how to do anything else with it but plug it in, and I'm like, oh, I have Amazon on this.
Yeah. By the way,
I guess I'm watching Amazon.
Well, and that's the thing is like, and that's what I think that people overlook is like when people our age, because we're at this point we're behind.
We're 19.
We're 19 years old. All of us. No,
It's a rough age.
Well, you watch TV the
Hello,
old way.
fellow children.
Like you watch TV the old way, and there's enough in the younger market to support all this because they're way more tech savvy than you people that are tied into watching on television. But I also think that the younger audience is way more fractured than us.
Yeah.
we are used to committing to a limited amount of things to watching, and if we watch these things, I mean, my God, I've sworn off The Walking Dead 5 times. I'm still watching it. That's just how my brain is wired. If I start something, I got to finish it. And I think that if you're saying like, well, these you know, the 30 plus crowd, they're wired. This is for the younger crowd. The younger crowd, I think, is so much more fractured than even we are as an audience.
But see that, but look at this. This slate is a mature person's slate for new technology. It's almost anathema.
I don't know if I like the word mature for us. Let's find a new word.
Well, I'm just saying mature. You know, these are mature subjects. The distinguished, amazing stories crowd.
Barrel aged.
It was a fun show.
Yeah.
Damn it all. I don't know. I mean, I do think that they're going to make a wrong move if they think that they can do this the way they've done their other products, which is make it impossible for you unless you buy their hardware. That will not work in this market unless they just want us all to watch everything on our iPhones, which Apple.
I think I could pitch a show to Apple right now. I just came up with it. Okay, you take like if they got into like tech wear, there's like all that tech wear where it's like, oh, this is where you put your phone. It's got a nice little slot on your chest, like a Starfleet communicator or something. You know, some guy he comes up and he goes, hey man, this is Jimmy whatever. This is my parkour show, and he takes his camera and he like does the screen thing so you can see what he's seeing, and he puts it in this thing like a GoPro pouch, and he just does parkour across rooftops and stuff, and you see it from his point of view, and you're dipping and you're jumping and all that kind of jazz. Sure. For a fatty like me, that's the Oasis. That's the Oasis.
Ready Player One.
Apple needs to unveil.
That's what they did.
They said they were doing M Night Shyamalan on the Oasis. I'm there.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Let's do
Are you
this.
going to buy an Apple TV?
If it was the Oasis, I would.
Well, that's a huge thing. But like even in an ask like how you could watch something in a different way because you have the Apple TV, like we've been talking about. Just introduce something or give me like movies. I feel like that's why going back to Discovery. I'm not trying to sell you, buddy, but it seemed like they tried to make a 50-minute Star Trek movie every week.
Yeah, I got to go back. I fell behind. They started dropping F-bombs, if I'm being honest. They started dropping F-bombs, and I got a little salty as a Star Trek fan. Because it really just is hard for me to accept, and I fell behind. I'm going to go back and catch up eventually, but at the same time, I'm catching up on a bunch of other stuff.
But I mean, I don't know, man. The fact that they're all still listening to Vivaldi and stuff, like 500 years in the future, that wasn't enough to rip me out of it. And they're dressed like Sam Spade. Sam Spade's important in 2500? Okay, I'll buy that. Oh, Sam Spade survived the all.
I could buy Vivaldi.
I understand.
Vivaldi stands the test of time.
Well, I mean, but you know, they're not listening to Cardi B. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's like I just feel like we're getting a little stodgy. You know, the F word has survived from Germanic times to right now. I'm quite sure it can survive out in space, but I'm not. I don't know about
Captain Picard was dressed as Dixon Hill, not Sam Spade.
Etymology of fuck? Like just off the top of your head?
Well, not off the top. I mean, it's like, you know, I learn stuff. I'm a learning robot.
I'm a learning person. I actually would be fascinated to hear that. Bring that in the next time you come in. I think that what they're gonna, if I have to make a prediction, is that they're gonna have to start actually doing what they can do financially and just buying studios and buying those libraries if they really want to be competitive in the field that Netflix and Disney are creating. They're going to have to do that, and they're going to have to make it possible to see this content on the device of our choice. Then you can add in whatever subliminal messages that you want to add in for me to get an iPhone, which I already have. Thank you very much, because I buy the most popular thing. So, speaking of crazy technology, Disney owns the body scan of Donald Glover, and he was doing an interview.
Mouse.
I know, exactly.
You're supposed to. It's like, yeah, think about Joe Starr.
I'm shipping it now.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Guys. It's a spectrum.
Intergalactic bromance.
Yeah. Like, I'm shipping it pretty hard, Joe.
Hey.
All right. So he was talking with the New Yorker about Solo. Like, okay, New Yorker, first of all, we're doing Star Wars now, too. Fine.
Calm. See you, New Yorker.
Well, you read them New Yorkers.
And he
Tell
said,
me who owned the diner in episode 2, New Yorker.
Tell us, Joe.
Dexter Jetster,
Yes,
the greatest Star Wars
Dexter
character.
Jetster.
Yes, the best Star Wars character
Okay.
ever.
He said, I'm scanned into Star Wars now, my face and body. Who's to say that at some point they won't take that scan and say, let's make another movie with Donald. He's been dead for 15 years, but we can do whatever we want with him. So obviously they're probably going to use this for merchandising, action figures, and
VFX.
video games, VFX, things like that. But precedent, Rogue One brought back Peter Cushing. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. But
It's creepy. It's so
It's
creepy.
so creepy.
It takes me out of the movie. That is the number one thing about Rogue One that I'm just like, oh, why?
Yeah, they overplayed their hand.
It still looks
Overplayed their
like.
hand.
No.
Also did not like that.
It still looks like Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Remember
It does.
Oh my gosh,
like it.
yeah.
We're not there
Yeah.
yet. I don't think we'll ever be there. I hope to God we're never there.
Well, that answers our
dude.
question. Are we going to be there, and how much should we just give up everything and burn it all when we listen, guys? Yesterday, I don't know if you saw. Did you hear about this?
You guys hear about this?
You hear about this one?
about this?
You know about this? Barbara Streisand cloned her dog. She cloned her beloved dog, and now she's got a couple of them. I think 3. It's a litter, so that makes sense, but that's a little terrifying. I mean, like, how close are we to just full on burn it all apocalypse?
Well, but you know what? I don't know. Maybe I think I'm a clone truther.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't believe in clones. I think those are like looper dogs that came back.
I think the cloning company took $1 billion from Barbara and found 3 other golden retrievers, and they were like, "Look, it's Duke." And she was like, "Oh, Duke, I missed you."
Well,
Hello, Dukes 2 through 4.
aren't they little fluffy white dogs that they
Yes.
terraform?
Yeah.
They terraformed a bunch of Labradors into weird poodles for Barbara Streisand. This gets deeper and deeper, man.
Why
Let's
Barbara
investigate.
Streisand doesn't want people hovering over her house. She has a
Yeah.
terraforming pet lab in her backyard.
Yeah.
And somebody's correcting us. It's actually nanobiology or something, you know. But
It's weird. It depends on who's doing the weird thing. Because if I had heard if that prince, God rest his sweet soul, had like cloned himself and given himself a Boba Fett to raise, you know, had
I'd
gone
be
just full
excited.
Django Fett. And,
Jango Fett,
Yeah,
the
just
version
was
of Jango.
raising a
Yeah.
little prince clone.
I
I'd
would
be
be
like,
into it.
yeah, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I would be into
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah. Anything that keeps Prince around, or Bowie.
Yeah.
I mean, for
Yeah.
animals, it's so weird that we're kind of going. I mean, she's kind of said that I like these traits, and to tie it back to the story, it's almost like they take your body, they like these traits from you. They don't really like you, they like these traits. I like how you grab this thing. I like how you snuggle. I like you. So they just, you know what I mean? And so like Peter Cushing, that did freak me out. The fact that like you just can't rest in peace, and we can't admit that like things are gone. You know what I mean? That's weird. We've become like a digital pack rat society. I looked at my emails. I have 70,000 unanswered emails. Why? Because I feel like, I don't know, I'm like a digital hoarder.
Are you ready for this? In BSG, when they went and they did Caprica, they had the first Centurion Cylon. Basically, it was this teenage girl who died in an explosion in a terrorist attack, and her personality was uploaded into the Centurion Cylon.
Oh.
So I think
Well.
that that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting closer and closer to a time in which
Cyloning.
we are Cylons, or clone dogs. I would be the dog. I would be Barbara Streisand's dog before I want to be a Cylon. But also, I think you're right that we do not accept the inevitability of our own mortality. We do not accept the various stages in our life that we go through in a natural maturation process. Having said that, I am into the return of Amazing Stories.
Wow. I feel like I've been on a journey. Looping back to Donald Glover, I almost naively said, well, I'm sure that they would need some kind of consent from somebody in his family if he were to, in 400 years,
Now
pass
they
away,
own it.
and that they would want to use it. But I actually now, I'm sure with the way the contracts work, you
Right.
probably signed some clause about perpetuity and likeness, and
Yep.
you know, we reserve,
yeah.
we'll just have $20 million in our back pocket if we want to break out the computer model. We just pay it out to your fourth generation or whomever.
I mean, they
is around
have
at that point.
started putting on contracts, you can use X, Y, and Z throughout the universe.
Yeah.
I've seen that on contracts throughout the universe.
Elon Musk is now doing the boilerplate. Like,
I mean,
for when you're on Mars.
I mean, yeah.
That is amazing to me.
By the way, this whole in-depth thing we just said sounds a lot like the actual New Yorker interview with Donald Glover. Like, it's just a whole lot of like silence, man, and I don't know. Sometimes we just double back and we're digital pack rats of ourselves, man. Anyway,
I would also like to endorse my agreement with the sentiment that Joe truly does belong with Donald Glover in the clouds.
Yeah.
I hope you two are happy together.
Yeah.
We really do deserve each other.
no, I don't trust him, but he is my friend.
Yeah, did you read for Han Solo? I mean, were they going like full Buddy
Oh,
Holly?
I'm a 30-year-old white guy. We all read for Han Solo.
It's like the draft.
Yeah. Oh, my ticket's up. I gotta go.
Was that the Utah Jazz draft? 30 white guys? Anyway.
John Stockton is playing Han Solo in the new Star Wars story. Congratulations.
I'm just excited a sports reference happened that I got. I understand that reference.
Guys, it's been good, but we're not done yet. Sorry, we have to go on, and I need your opinion, Ed,
Okay.
about the Academy Awards. But we'll probably have to make it pretty quickly because we've run a little long today because, my God, you guys entertained me.
We went deep.
We went deep. Oscar countdown. Best supporting. I love scaring Dan.
It's not the volume, it's the silence that follows. I'm just waiting for something else to happen.
It's
like the first water ripple when the T-Rex steps down.
Like, what's next?
Did you see that?
It's like just with my very beingness, I'm slightly alarming to
Life
most human
finds a
beings.
way.
That is your lower third now. Roth Cornet, slightly alarming.
I have a new graphic
Oh,
that I was
yeah.
hoping I was going to be able to earn today, but I didn't ramp it up quite enough to earn it. So
We're here
pissed me
every day.
off about something. So supporting actor for the Academy Awards, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson, 3 Billboards, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards. So that is the race, that is the field. It's looking very likely to be Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards in this race. Willem Dafoe, maybe outsider. But what do you guys think? Do you have a favorite, and who do you think will win?
Rockwell gets it, but I love Richard Jenkins' sad little face,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like always on
Yeah.
the
He does
side
have
of
a sad little
yeah,
face.
always on the side of Richard Jenkins. And I just want to hug him and give him an Academy Award. My favorite though is Willem Dafoe. I mean, the trailer for the Florida Project made me sob. He's fantastic in that movie. It's such a reverse. So often you have comedians and stuff impress everybody by going full Dafoe. And, oh man, they can do creepy and intense. And here is this guy whose career has been creepy and intense. And it's just like, no, I'm also this warm, like, father figure, caretaker. And I think he deserves it.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell is undeniably the front runner. But of all the categories, if I was going to declare an upset alert, and I will, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but of all the acting categories, I think this is the one. If there's going to be an upset of the established front runner, it's going to be this one. I love Sam Rockwell. Thought he was great in 3 Billboards. However, people love Willem Dafoe. By all accounts, super nice guy. Not really given a lot of critical acclaim in the sense of awards in the past, despite putting in a lot of yeoman's work in a lot of different movies. He's worked with a lot of people in the industry for decades, and The Florida Project is an under-nominated movie at these Academy Awards. I think there are some of those elements that you look at where you could say, like, maybe there could be an upset brewing where people are just like, Rockwell was good, but I love Dafoe and I love that movie and I want to give this movie a big award.
It didn't get a
Needs an
Best
award.
Picture nom, so I'm giving it to it here.
Yeah,
But-
so I would actually put this race on. This is on my upset radar because I think of all of them, the biggest probability of a major surprise is here with Dafoe winning for the Florida Project.
It's the one I hope, and the reason, to your point, Joe, is because this is the only category that maybe gets enough attention on the Florida Project that more people will go see it, which is the whole point of the Academy Awards. Who do you love?
Well, I think Sam Rockwell is going to get it because the Academy likes to congratulate themselves on conquering racism. You know what I mean? That's a big part of it. So I really think he's going to get that. And also the performance was great. Christopher Plummer, I was thinking Christopher Plummer could get an award like how Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for not being George Bush.
The not Kevin Spacey award.
Yeah, this is the not Kevin Spacey award. They should just put that like for your consideration. He's not Kevin Spacey. You know what I mean?
And everyone's like, you know what? You're right. He's not. He's
Definitely not. He's not.
Yeah.
Give that man an Oscar. He's not Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
That award for me seems like a weird one because it's almost like they're kind of trying to honor Ridley for like, you did it.
Yeah.
You put him in the movie.
Pulled it off.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Right,
you pulled
right.
it off with
Right.
like
Plummer's good though. I mean, I never
I
would
mean,
No,
have
it's
known.
not that he's not
He's
good, but it just
great.
means
He's a treasure.
Yeah, he's a national treasure, as
Yeah.
you say. That's an interesting take on Sam. I want to talk. It's going to be too long of a
No,
rabbit
no.
hole, but I do think that's an interesting take on Sam Rockwell because I'm not sure that that's what he did in that movie. But
Yeah, well, me and Joe
Well, that's
talked
kind of the
about it.
criticism.
Yeah.
Me and Joe talked about it.
Or maybe not solved, but dipped their toes in.
Yeah. Just like, I'm out of it. I'm done. I wash my hands of it. Sort of scene in the movie. So we can talk about that later. But
Let's do it.
honestly, I really think I love Richard Jenkins, but Willem Dafoe, I do agree with you guys. You sold me. The fact that he's so integral to that movie. I think that should be the thing about best supporting role is without this supporting character, this movie falls apart. You know what I'm saying? Because the star is going to be the star. They're in every scene. But there are certain supporting actors that make the whole story work.
Yeah.
I.e., Okoye in Black Panther.
Yeah.
She sold the reality of that whole movie with a couple moves, a couple looks, a couple great line readings. She sold the reality of that whole thing more than a bunch of CGI or holograms.
how big is her career about to blow up?
Killing it.
Oh my God. So lead actor, yeah, I'm with you, but that sweet Richard Jenkins. Can we just give him a love award?
I just want to
We
like
can.
Yeah.
do
We
little
just
palms on his cheek. You know that
Yeah.
one? I just want to do that
Yeah.
with Richard Jenkins and kiss him on his little head.
Lead
sweet
actor.
boy.
He's such a sweet man in that movie.
Glad I've turned him into a small dog.
But you can clone them these days. So.
Yeah,
We'll always
you
have
can
Richard
have
Jenkins.
all
I wanna
the
clone
Richard
Richard
Jenkins that you
Jenkins.
want.
You'll
Yeah.
have a little baby like Benjamin Button, Richard Jenkins.
Yeah.
That you can just walk around. It's like 5 and it looks like him already.
Look, that's what gets me to buy the Apple TV. A show
Yeah.
that is nothing but
But
Richard
all
Jenkins.
of the Richard Jenkinses.
Yeah.
like
Jenkai.
Malkovich,
Yeah.
Jenkins.
But they're kind of multiplicity, and like the 19th one is pretty dumb because he's like a copy of 18 copies. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm into this.
Which never really
House of
made sense to
Copies.
me when it comes to like genetics, because I don't think they work that way, but still a fun movie. Timothy Chalamet was the front runner in many people's minds for lead actor. It now looks like he will not win. It will instead go to journeyman Gary Oldman for The Darkest Hour. Daniel Day-Lewis in the mix with his final performance, supposedly. Phantom Thread. Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out. Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. Do you guys have a favorite?
A personal favorite?
A personal favorite. I mean, we think Gary Oldman looks like he's going to win, right?
Probably. If I had a vote, I'd vote for
It looks
Timothy
like a
Chalamet,
Lifetime Achievement Award, basically, for this. And,
essentially.
Yeah.
Which happens so often.
But you would go for Chalamet if you
If I
could.
had a vote, I would vote for Timothy Chalamet. I thought he was brilliant in that movie. That was my personal favorite movie of last year. Gary Oldman has done many, 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 many wonderful performances. I thought this was him doing a very strong performance. He was really good in the movie, but I mean, he was doing Churchill and with the suit, and it just like to me that was just like I was just like, oh, that's really good performance of Gary Oldman acting as Winston Churchill instead of like I love what Timothy Chalamet did in Call Me by Your Name throughout. That would be my vote, but it's hard for me to not see Oldman walking away with this. It's just
Yeah, which I don't know. I have a really hard time separating a big fat suit performance from Fat Bastard and Shallow Hal and Clumps and the Nutty Professor. You know, like even if
The Norbit Award goes
the
to?
Norbit Award. It's even if it's the best fat suit in the world. Like there are just scenes where I'm like, because it just reminds me of Shallow Hal or something like that.
I mean, when I see stuff like that, you know what I think about? I think there's some guy, he's 67 years old, and he's a Shakespearean level actor. And he's got those big juicy jowls, and he's got that weight of experience, and he's sitting on his porch with no money because Gary Oldman fat suited it up. That's all I think about when they do that stuff, when they make beautiful people super freaking ugly, or I just think, get an ugly bastard. That's their life.
Yeah.
That's their life.
They were born for that.
They
there was
were
a guy
born
waiting
for
for that
that.
breakthrough.
You know what I mean?
Daniel Kaluuya was my favorite here until I saw Call Me by Your Name. Sort of to Ed's point in terms of making your movie work. Chalamet is what made that movie work because when we started the movie, I was kind of like, this feels a little weird because my understanding is Armie Hammer's character is a little younger than Armie Hammer was cast. Like that character was cast a little old, so there's a level of kind of like, and Chalamet makes that movie work and makes you okay with that premise and that sort of visual perceived age difference. In a huge way. He's such an intense, aggressive character that knows what he wants, and he makes that movie work. Sort of, this is a weird comparison, but in the same way that Tom Hanks made the movie Big work. Big is a horrible, nightmarish premise,
right?
Where
Yeah,
a little boy is in on all levels. Like it's a little boy in an adult body that's dating an adult lady, and meanwhile his mom just thinks he's dead and is like crying at home every day. But Tom Hanks somehow makes that premise work.
Yeah.
And Chalamet did the same thing with Call Me By Your Name.
Is that your favorite?
The Big of this year.
Big of this year's Academy
often, I'm
Awards.
glad.
Call Me By Your Name.
I mean, I really think everybody's performances. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about some of these performances, but I don't want to talk about Daniel Kaluuya because it would seem like I'm being too on brand. But I do believe he does help that movie work, and his intensity works, and his Americanness, and that does work. I really felt like this is an American dude with like all this. When I was one of those that I knew he was British, but I didn't really metabolize it.
But you didn't believe it.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. I was like, he's put on a posh accent.
I had seen him in the Black Mirror episode, so I believed he was British.
Oh yeah, you see,
but
and
I
didn't
didn't
even
think about it.
I didn't even think about. He was like a cog in that machine.
Yeah.
I really didn't think about that because that's how great that's. I mean, you could put. There's great actors in those things. So you just float right into it. But yes, I think Chalamet, to Joe's point, gives. There's a weird thing about agency these days, right? Giving characters agency, making sure that that you know that they're making their own decisions. They're not being pressured into anything, and women, gay
whether
people,
in script or even like
exactly.
by the writer, where you're like, you made this
Exactly.
choice because you just wanted it on paper. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want to live out these weird fantasies, as it were. So basically, I do believe that Chalamet's performance does grant that character some agency, which makes that whole story work. So I'd say he's the lead runner.
Yeah.
Lead runner.
Yeah, that works.
Lead runner. Well, those are my two favorites of the year as well. I think Daniel Kaluuya, to that same point, largely did also make Get Out work, and I think it's a very subtle performance. And those are frequently overlooked.
Yeah.
You know, I think that people look at the big acting,
the big suit.
and the
Was
big.
it-
Well,
see,
not just
and
the
that's
suit,
why he's gonna lose because,
but not just the suit, but even if you look at sort of Laurie Metcalf. Versus Allison Janney, both great performances, but one is very big and one is quite subtle.
One's got a parakeet.
One has a parakeet. So that's often the case. However, Timothée Chalamet's performance also understated, and I think that he wins in my mind for that last shot. For just that last shot of that movie,
Staring at the fireplace.
Staring at the fireplace is an Academy award-winning moment of acting, and entirely sells that movie in total. And that everything that movie is meant to be about happens there.
Yeah, I think Get Out gets the. I don't want to blow your next show, but I think it gets screenplay or something like that. It doesn't get the major acting awards or the best picture or anything. But and I'm when I first got into movies, it was like Pulp Fiction getting the screenplay award. I was like, you sons of bitches, I see your game. You know what I mean? If you've got it, this truly, yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta. But you know what? If more people see the movie, although it has the highest return on investment of any movie this year already, but if more people see these movies, great, right? So maybe spread it out a little bit. Oh, shoot. We're already running
dear.
so
Breaking
late.
news.
Late, but
So it
I
better be
just wanted
big,
to,
Billy Business.
Is it the Richard Jenkins thing? Did it happen?
Has Donald Glover accepted Joe's proposal?
Hollywood Reporter has just learned that Chris Hemsworth is circling to star in the new Men in Black reboot. It's going to take place in London with a white character, a black woman, and an older man. That's kind of you're going to be your new leads.
Those are the agents.
Hemsworth, it's quite a difference from Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith. That's kind of the direction. Looks like they're going.
Agent H for hot? What's going on?
Zing.
Oh no, that was so bad, and you're so sweet to have laughed at it. I like it because he indulges me.
I think the only way that works is if he's the new guy and he's an idiot. He played
such a good idiot.
really well.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a really good.
Yeah.
And just
Really does.
confident, much like John Hamm in 30 Rock,
Yeah.
where he's just so handsome that people just let him screw
Yeah.
up everything all the way
Yes.
to being a doctor. He's
Yeah.
a bad
Handsome
doctor.
bottle.
Yeah.
Hemsworth and Haddish. Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, that's what I was
as
gonna-
the veteran.
Ooh.
Took it out of my mouth,
That's
but
what I'm
that's why
into
you'll
that.
land down all that.
Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'll just get there first. You'll get to him first. I understand.
That's a good pitch.
Who's the old person?
Jenkins, man.
Jenkins.
Richard Jenkins.
Final
Richard
answer.
Jenkins.
Jenkins. I'm trying to think.
I was
We
saying
just really
Helen
gotta
Mirren.
save the Earth from these aliens.
Why not Helen Mirren? Helen Mirren is the oldie, as like the.
I just
one
got to
that's
continue my
like
through line for today's show.
All right,
I think
Richard
that's the better
Jenkins.
pick, but
Jenkins. Runner.
Richard Jenkins, Timothy, not Timothy,
Chalamet.
Adams. Timothy Chalamet, randomly.
Yeah.
For
You
no
know
good
who
in an
I
reason.
old people suit.
Christopher Plummer.
I would love, you know what I'd love? This is going to sound so freaking weird, but I would love Ellen Barkin as
yeah.
something like in one of those. That, you know what? She got something.
We don't.
Jesse.
We don't use Ellen Barkin enough.
We don't.
We really don't.
We don't. She's a treasure.
She is
Judith
a treasure.
Light.
Say her. What's your Judith Light?
Judith Light.
Okay.
Recently on American Crime Story.
Yeah, she was great on that.
That'll sell so many tickets.
No, she's like legitimately great in
She's
that.
amazing. She was
legitimately
incredible.
great in that. Also, if our daily lives were a sitcom, Billy and I decided earlier today it would be Who's the Boss? We don't know. Nobody knows. What's your favorite Ellen Barkin performance?
You know what? She sold me on Animals. I was watching TNT, watching a basketball game, and it went off, and they were like, now, 8 hours of this dumb show, Animals, about skate punks who smoke meth and rob banks. And I was like, all right. And Ellen Barkin was just killing it in these just subtle, slinky scenes where she's like a sexy grandma. I'm not trying to fetishize her, but she was just like, yeah, I'm smoking these cigarettes all day, but I run this town. But she just had such gravitas. She's had it since she was a young woman
Yeah.
and stuff like Switch with Jimmy Smits and stuff, where she capably plays a man trapped in a woman's body.
Yes!
And we just brought up Switch.
I can't believe you
All
did.
right.
I was going with Scent of a Woman and
Sea of Love is my
Sea of Love,
is my
not
joint.
Scent of
yeah.
a Woman. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, Sea of Love is my thing.
Sea
yeah,
of
too.
Love, I love that one. And also, this isn't a great movie, but for some reason, it's just so sexy. The Big Easy
Yeah.
with Dennis Quaid. Well, there's been your Ellen Barkin moment.
Ellen Barkin minute.
Yeah.
Can we have a graphic for an Ellen Barkin minute?
We lost
Right, they did a new
every
segment.
single person in the
Just now.
audience
I know. I'm sorry.
with the Ellen Barkin.
Tying it in, Ellen Barkin is in the Wreck-It Ralph teaser.
Ellen Barkin. There was a Wreck-It
Yeah.
Ralph teaser
Yeah.
today.
You whore.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
We're gonna wrap this
Link in the
up
description.
by encouraging you to let us know what you thought of the Wreck-It Ralph teaser in the comments below.
It's a commercial.
We thought it was 30 seconds of delight.
Rate and review this commercial. Would you recommend this commercial to your friends?
Catch me for my hot takes on the latest Mr. Clean spot after this.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm wrecking it.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Where
I
can
always love
everybody
to be on
find
here.
you?
Actually, I'm taping The New Negroes on Comedy Central like this Saturday.
Can we
Baron
applaud
Vaughn and
our
Mike
guests?
Eagle.
Yeah,
That's
Baron
gonna
Vaughn,
be
Mike
so
Eagle.
Hell of a show.
And I think Hannibal Buress is going to be on it doing something.
Wow.
It's gonna be a real good lineup.
So where does everybody catch that?
You know what? It's going to be on Comedy Central later. But I do a podcast called Nerd Goat where I talk to. We had Mark Bernardin on.
Yes, we had him on.
Yeah.
He's so brilliant.
Yeah,
It's insane.
we had him do his favorite nerd character of all time. It's the Nerd Goat, greatest of all time. So he did Conan. So we have him for about an hour talking about Conan in
Nice.
depth, and it's great. And that's what we do. We have people on for about 40 minutes, an hour, talk about their favorite fictional character of all time, and we do deep dives, and we riff, and it's a really fun show. So
That sounds
nerdgoatpodcast.com.
Nerd Goat Podcast.
And Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter.
Edgar Greer Destroys. I'm gonna be really on brand, and mine's Sarah Connor. I can't help it. I really can't, because it's both the two movies that count and the TV series. So both performances, which is shocking. That never happens. Never happens.
How about a Dark Knight Returns Sarah Connor played by Ellen Barkin?
Yes.
And the show before our nosebleeds.
I thought scanners just happened. It's incredible. You should have seen it.
Yes. 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 And on that, I'll have what he's having. Okay. How many old references are we?